Good morning. It is I, your favorite Whimsy. I've just woken up. I'm in my favorite smock. Yes, here to deliver another remote view. I've got my coffee. Delicious. And today we are talking about the fact that we are on the verge of World War III. Yes, we are on the verge of World War III. Gosh, that doesn't sound like fun, does it? I don't know about you, but this is not how I like to spend a Saturday morning with my cat. As you can see, I've switched up the background a little bit just to keep it interesting. And gosh darn it, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to worry about these problems? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just be in our groove? Be in our groove. And I'm still learning how to use these. Um, yes. So, anyway, the point is, I thought you folks would like it if I threw cards. As you can see, we've got a very nice setup. We've got, yes, everything is fine with me. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. A lot of people are worried about whether or not we should leave the United States. Are things going to get better or worse under a Trump presidency? Can the people who just think that they are going to use him to get power in DC, are they going to get what they paid for? I think so. Do you want to stay in a country being run by these people? And do you think that they're going to willingly give up power after 4 years? These are all questions that you get to contemplate. Is the American government dead? Are we finished? An insurrectionist just got reelected. So is our system of justice working? No. Do the poor go to prison for the crimes of the rich? Yes. That's what January 6th was about. Trump coordinated January 6th with the Proud Boys, and then everybody went to prison but the person that coordinated it because he is a king. That is what we've come down to. Not only did he coordinate it, but now he gets to be the president. So the other thing we're looking at is whether or not Putin is going to fire nuclear weapons at NATO. As I had said, as a remote viewer, when I follow this energy, the most likely outcome would be that the West would be forced to march on Moscow. Based on this trajectory, that is precisely what's happened. The tensions are increasing. How it feels to me as Putin, because I am a professional empath, I become the other. As it feels to me as Putin, is that I'm cornered, I'm paranoid, I'm desperate, I'm unstable, and I can pretty much do anything. I'm capable of doing anything. What are the odds that I will push the button and commit suicide? At this point, honestly, 50 to 60%. I have to tell you honestly, because as a remote viewer, I've been criticized when I felt pressured to tell people what they wanted to hear and things didn't turn out the way that they wanted. So I've decided to tell people precisely the truth, even if it's not what people want to hear. And the truth is that Putin destroyed his country, invaded Ukraine. His invasion took the lives of 1.5 million Russians. Everything he tried to do was a failure. And the truth is that Putin knows he's a failure. So when a person is a failure and when they have lost their home and their family, or say they have murdered a member of their own family, usually what happens is that they then will turn around and commit suicide. I invite you into that. It's very dark energy, but if you are a professional empath, or if you want to understand what life is like for me, and how this works, then I would invite you to join me in this world. And what I would say to you, as somebody who profiles for a living using HCRV, I use heart-centered remote viewing in order to get profiles on people. That Putin is a cornered, desperate man. He's mentally unstable. He has nothing to live for. So why not push the button? The only way that we can avoid this is, first off, from his perspective, we need to back off, because he is cornered. It's like the guy who's cornered in the house and the feds are everywhere. And NATO is coming. NATO's coming for him. From NATO's perspective, they have to strike, and they have to strike quick before this lunatic does something crazy. So what's happened is that the United States has begun to move their nuclear weapons capability closer to striking distance of Moscow. And then Putin's doing the same. He's taking what weapons he has left and he's beginning to point them towards Ukraine and the West. This is very different than the Cuban Missile Crisis, in the sense that this time something could happen, and the last time we were able to talk our way out of it. This time I cannot guarantee we will be able to. The only way we would be able to talk our way out of this is if we were to convince Putin that he is a winner, is to put on the facade of accepting his peace proposal, shake hands, and give him the image of having won something while he withdraws troops from Crimea and elsewhere, Ukraine. If we cannot give him dignity as he withdraws troops, then given this personality, he will do everything in his power to attack, and that could be nuclear, because of who he is and where he's at and how he feels psychologically. If you come any closer, I'm going to frickin' push the button. Back off. That kind of an energy. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the Impass Prayer. We'll go ahead, we'll take a look, and let's see what we get. Sound good? We're going to go ahead and take a look at the war. Hopefully we can get some information. Another cup of coffee usually does the trick for me. As you can see, my trusty familiar sidekick is here to assist us. My ID is backwards. I must not have my... Let's see what I'm going on here. Here's the video. Oh, all right. There we go. Much better. Much better. Okay, this goes this way. All right. So we'll put this here, and we'll put this there. There we go. And then we'll put this right over here so that you guys can see the cards. Does that work? And would you like a candle with your cards today when you receive your cards? Would you like a nice candle reading? Yes, I'm putting the odds at about 60% that he uses nuclear weapons, because of how desperate and cornered he is, and because he doesn't have an out, and because he feels he has nothing to live for, Putin, and because he feels that he has lost. So the only way to avoid that scenario is to make him feel like he has won, and he needs to have the facade of having won, which means that we need to present the image to the world that we are considering some of his peace proposal but he needs to draw down, and if we do that, we may be able to try to make it nice. Yes, my proud little plaque. If we make it nice, then we could possibly give him dignity and get him out of there. But if we can't do that, this is like negotiating. Okay, sorry, we're having some problems. I keep losing my connection. We're having some work done here in downtown Portland. So I apologize if I'm losing the stream. My apologies. All right, let's go ahead. We'll do the Impass Prayer. We'll go in and take a look. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. All right, the first throw, 4 cards, is how is Putin doing? And the first card has to do with the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles could indicate a desire for additional aid or monetary aid. He's wiped out. He can't go to Russia. He can't go to Iran for help anymore because Iran's munitions are being bombed by Israel. And they're on the verge of war. They are at war with Israel. And they're so desperate, they're trying to get aid from North Korea. But right now, he's looking at aid, I would say, with the Knight of Pentacles. He's looking at aid. He's also looking at communication, trying to communicate with people. His opposition, I think his opposition, the United States, is done chit-chatting with him. They're done with him, the Hanged Man. This party is over. Now Trump is threatening nuclear war. Now Trump is threatening nuclear war and Putin is threatening nuclear war. And Biden is moving nukes. So there's this feeling that the war in Crimea is going to come to an end, possibly because Putin has wiped out his resources and the United States is done negotiating with him. His hope and fear, the happy family, and the unity of the family. Perhaps he felt to some extent that Ukraine was the family. Ukraine was the unified family, the happy Russian family. This idea that he was entitled to Ukraine, he was entitled to their oil, their resources. He was entitled to the ports, etc. The happy unified family, the final outcome for Putin. Retraction. It's this retracted energy, 4 of Pentacles, like he's pulling back. He's focused and he's pulling back. I'm very concerned about this retracted energy of Putin where I feel desperate and I have nowhere to go, nothing to turn to. Feel the war is coming to an end because Knight of Pentacles is about the endings. It's also about economic limitation. So the bottom line is that the war came to an end because Putin could not financially maintain it. I think with the hangman in the 8th house, the United States is finished with him. I would also say that NATO did not use their weapons. You know, they had massive stockpiles of weapons from the perspective of NATO. He was the one that wiped everything out, trying to take Ukraine. We laid low and used minimal amounts of weapons. Yes, I love you too. And so as a result, NATO remains strong. Ukraine remains strong. His opposition is strong. It's the end of the road for him. Putin's hope and fear. The fact that he doesn't know what to do. We have to give him an out. The West has to give him an out. He's becoming increasingly cornered. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know he doesn't have money. He's cornered. The West looks very strong. The West is done with him. The West is done with being threatened. He thought he would be in a much better situation under a Trump presidency, but instead he has found that Trump is actually agreeing with Biden. Yeah, nuke him. So both presidents are supporting a hard line against Putin. And so this, of course, is not what Putin expected. And he becomes increasingly paranoid. Now, this card here, the 9 of Wands, is about being increasingly isolated or being cornered. The clarification that comes after that, as you can see in Putin's house, in a Celtic Cross, you have traditionally 10 cards. I use 12 because I look for a couple of other things. But in a Celtic Cross, you have a 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th house of the 10th house. The 7th being the immediate environment, the 8th being the environment of your opposition, who you're having issues with, your hope and your fear and your final outcome. So when you're doing a blitz, you're just looking at the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th houses of a Celtic. So if you're looking at his immediate environment, he needed money and resources. He felt like he was slowing down. Knight of Pentacles. He couldn't advance his military. Knight of Swords is helter-skelter, or it's a violent, erratic bull in the china shop. And this is happening in the next couple of weeks. It's his immediate environment in the next couple of weeks. And I think that's in response to this 9 of Wands we see over here as the final outcome in a couple of weeks. And so the more cornered he feels, the more violent he becomes. And that's the concern. And you can see that strength card in his opposition, which would be NATO. So NATO is really coming after him. There it is, the Knight of Cups. There's the emissaries coming, offering peace. And then the final outcome, here it is. Hopes and fears take the deal. The 3 of Pentacles, which is the building blocks of a structure of something. In this case, it's a peace deal. And the final outcome is Ace of Pentacles. Final outcome is money for the rebuild. It is the decision of this treaty, should they avoid nuclear war, that it would result in economic benefits for both sides. Because Putin is calling the United States hegemonic, which is funny because he invaded a sovereign country. Now he's calling us hegemonic for wanting to rescue this country, right? So the final outcome is large sums of money will be coming in. So it means more US dollars being poured in. This is what infuriates the American people, is that they're having to pay for this. But there's a huge swoop of money coming in from the West to resolve the situation. There's Biden. Biden and Putin could meet to solidify a peace deal in the near future before Trump. There's the partnership, offering economic aid for the rebuild in exchange for a peace treaty that would possibly also benefit Russia. Russia increasingly having to defend their territory. 7 of Wands would indicate that they're not happy about what they had to sacrifice. but Seven of Wands is the outcome. And so basically what the cards are saying is that Putin becomes increasingly isolated and desperate. He will which puts him at higher risk for erratic, violent behavior, and that the United States has to put on the facade of agreeing to his peace proposal, if nothing else than to avoid nuclear war, and that the most likely outcome would be a strong show of force by the United States, its military and its financial capabilities, which would cause increasing isolation, Seven of Wands, and a narrowing of Putin's world, and a need to start protecting himself more. It's a very tense time, because when people feel that they're at the end of the road, when people feel that they're desperate and they have nowhere to turn, then they do unstable, crazy things. And like David Koresh burning everything down in Texas when the feds surrounded the compound in Texas. So people do desperate things, and I think, and like David Koresh, very similar personality, Putin. He is like Rasputin. He is like David Koresh. He is a cult leader. This is exactly the personality I would describe. He is a cult leader with a cult following, just like Elon Musk is a cult leader with a cult following. And they use tactics to get people to worship them in a cult. And it has that kind of standoff feeling where David Koresh was held up and the feds were all around him, and eventually everything got burned down. And this is dangerous. It's dangerous for the United States. It's dangerous for the whole world. It's dangerous for Ukraine. I'm going to do a Celtic on Vladimir Putin next. Yeah, I reduced my vaping. That's why I stopped coughing. What happens when I vape marijuana is it causes an irritation in my nose, and then I start, and throat, and I start to cough. And so I had to reduce it. If you reduce it, you won't cough. The election. I broke down after the election. All right. Putin. What you gonna do, Pootie? What you gonna do? Pootie. All right. Taking the weapons of war. Karma strong. These are getting dismantled. Death by paper cuts, right? Which is what I suggested we do with Elon Musk, is that these oligarchs need to be taken out with paper cuts. Divest economically. You don't want to be putting your money towards people like this. You don't want to be making them stronger. And when you give them money, you just make them stronger. So we have to, and it takes a lot of money to maintain their kingdom. So any loss of money is going to be difficult to maintain their kingdoms, which is why if we can bankrupt X, Twitter, if we can stop buying the cars that are being produced. I think there are other cars besides Tesla that you can get that are fuel efficient. Hybrids, I think, are a good idea, because in an emergency you can just use oil gas if you have to. But I wouldn't buy Tesla. I would boycott Tesla. There are other environmentally friendly ways to get by without using Tesla. But yeah, the idea is to divest of any companies, organizations that support Trump and support this administration. And death by paper cuts is women and activists actively boycotting those folks. Yeah. Go over to Blue Skies. I'm over at Blue Skies. Check me out. Dr. Whimsy Anderson, Blue Sky. Join me over at Blue Sky. All right. Ace of Swords. There it is. The Knight of Swords. This was the concern I had, is that this situation is escalating. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like that escalation I see. He's a religious nut job. So he's going to, he thinks that he's the divine salvation of the Russian church. He thinks that he's the prophesied one, right? In the next 30 days, possible escalation of world war. You can see the world here, the Knight of Swords, which is a war card, and Ace of Wands, which is an aggressive card, and it has to do with territory. So we're looking at the next 30 days being very critical, where they will be basically attempting to aggressively dismantle the Russians in Ukraine. Putin lost the support of his allies. You can see the Five of Pentacles in 5th position. He's already lost support. He's already lost support. Trump doesn't have the ability to have this relationship with Russia that he thought he could in his second term. It escalates very rapidly. You can see 6 of Wands in his opposition. This is the opposition, the 8th house. The power of the president coming in, Ace of Wands, this strong yang energy coming in. But what's interesting is that you have victory in the 6th house, and that would indicate that his enemy is winning. I would not be surprised if they want this war over now. They want it before the new administration comes in. This is like within the next 30 days. Yeah. It's like they want to get on with it. Let's hurry up and get on with the rebuild. I think that they're going to put on a facade of actually listening to Putin's peace proposal, even though they're going to throw it in the trash, as a way of calming him off the ledge so that he doesn't do something erratic. If they don't do that, then we're in a very dangerous situation. If they can dismantle him in a way where he feels like he has some control, then we could see major military escalation by the West in the next 30 days in an attempt to force a retreat and/or surrender by Russia. In terms of the conversation that's been going on about whether or not you should leave the United States, it's for you to decide. You have to decide for yourself what is best for you. Do you want to stay in the United States, or do you not want to stay in the United States? Do I think things are going to get worse? Yes. I was asked to please stop sugarcoating and tell people the truth. They need the truth and the facts more than readers trying to make them feel better. Because there are a lot of readers that want to make people feel better. And I understand. I want to make you feel better too. But if you're asking me what I feel energetically, I feel that the Trump presidency will be a disaster on many levels. And I feel that it would be wise for many people, at least temporarily, to leave the United States and to dismantle as much of your life as you can, and to rent someplace cheap, maybe in Malaysia or somewhere, and to just write it out. I wouldn't recommend you purchase in Portugal or anything like that. But if you feel unsafe, you may want to dismantle things, have your friends or family hold on to stuff so you don't have to put it in a storage unit. And if you can do that and just hunker down in some place like Mexico for the next couple of years if you're feeling unsafe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull some cards about it. I'm most likely, look, it's a drag. It's a hassle to have to leave the United States. But the other thing is that life is unlivable in the United States for the poor. And everyone in America is becoming part of the poor, because anything they can grab from the middle class and the struggling poor, they will take it. So if you can't take it, if you don't have the money for the rent and all the other bills that come with being an American, you may choose to leave the United States, where healthcare is more affordable and where you can age with dignity. And that's not something you can do here in the United States. The luxury isn't in leaving. The luxury is in staying. Staying in the United States is economically not feasible for many people. They retire to other countries because they simply cannot afford to retire in the United States. You can't retire in the United States on $2,000 a month, but you can in Mexico. You can in Malaysia. You can in Sardinia. And so that's why people are leaving. Not because they're spoiled, but because they don't have enough money to live in America. All right, the cards. The first card, traveler. Be a traveler. Now is the time of the nomad. This is the first card, the woman who was the barefoot doctor. Oh my God, are we coming back to that? I got my fancy coat. I got my fancy degrees. But in the end, we just went back to being barefoot doctors, traveling the trade routes, offering care where we could because of an unstable world. And are we going back to that? The answer is yes. She had a bag of herbs. She had a tarot deck, maybe, or some other divining tool. And she just walked the earth looking for adventures. She didn't buy property. If there was a problem or a war, she simply walked to the next country, offering her services. This was the medicine woman of days gone by. She brought her magic, her herbs, her readings, and she was willing to move and not be attached as she covered the earth during times of mischief and mayhem. This is your ancestor that comes back to you and says, you know what? Maybe it's time to just go back and wander a little bit. The second opposition is the opposite, which is the Earth Guardian. This is the person that stays home, hunkers down, stays rooted, stays grounded, refuses to leave, and realizes the best thing you can do in a windstorm is to build roots that are so great, nobody can take you off your land, your home. I stand here with America. I'm going to stay, I'm rooted, and I will not leave. So you have two ancestors bringing two messages. One is, I travel the world. You cannot catch me. I am elusive. I am that elusive butterfly who travels the world offering healing, never attached to any one country, free, right? And then you have the other ancestor coming to you. No, I'm a US citizen. I'm a Ukrainian. Like, this is my home. This is my land. The way I'm going to stay safe is building roots, building a stable economic situation. It's better for me to stay put and to avoid the heavy rains. Only you can decide which path is right for you. Both paths are honorable. And the last message from your guides is, have discernment. Many of you are now nomads, and this is a good thing. Half of you will be nomadic. You will travel and you will exchange your art and your ideas like in the old ways, and it will be a good thing. And there's no wrong way to do it because it's all just an exchange of energy. The Trader's card comes. It's all about the energy that you create and trade with others. Whether you stay or leave, Spirit cannot make this decision for you. Both are honorable paths. Both are appropriate. You must look at your situation. For those of you who have cats and dogs and relate, I can't leave. That's okay. Then root yourself deep in the earth, keeping yourself as stable and safe as possible so that when the winds of change come, you will not be disrupted. And if you do that, then you will be okay. Assess your situation. Are you the traveling woman who go, or the nomad who wanders the earth, who's simply, I'm going to be in Malaysia. Oh, civil war in Malaysia. I think I'm going to go visit Iceland for a couple of weeks. I'll stay at rooms. You can stay in rooms that are very nice. You can stay at capsule hotels. Like I said, you can get a nice apartment in Lumpur for $200 a month, and that's a 2-bedroom. So if you want to go with somebody else and share, I think it's a good idea to have a girlfriend if you're going to be a nomad, or a man friend, so that you can share prices. If you got two seniors and they're both on Social Security, they would do very well for themselves in most parts of the world. If they're sharing an apartment, sharing rent, you probably won't see rent higher than, say, $250 in most parts of the world that we're recommending. So you're just paying $125 a month to be living in Lumpur, Malaysia for 6 months. And then after that, you can go to Mexico or you can go somewhere else. But trust your gut and do what feels right to you. All right. I want to thank you for watching this quick video. Expect more tensions to rise, more nuclear threats on both sides as people attempt to hammer out and see if they're going to agree to some version of Putin's peace proposal. That's what I anticipate. Risk for, unfortunately, a nuclear incident is high. I'm going to give it 50-60% if things don't change. I'm sorry to say. All right, so take care of yourselves. Do what feels best. Do what feels right for you. And be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. Be strong. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.